Congressman Will Hurd. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee. He's a former CIA clandestine officer, spent 9 years in the CIA. Congressman, this couple met supposedly all the legal requirements, and she got this fiancé visa, then she got the green card. Looking through all the documents, apparently they didn't see any red flags in this case. How is that possible?
Well, as the previous person you were interviewing mentioned, a lot of that information seems to have been in private channels that she was using on social media. And even if we're talking about how do you include a social media checks in a visa interview, what does that actually mean? And some of the information that's public is probably not where they're saying, I'm going to go and perform jihad, I want to kill people when I get to America. It's in that some of those private channels, and being able to search that is a very difficult thing. And one piece, we talk about the visa. One of the jobs I did during the day when I was overseas was stamp visas, and then I did my real job at night. That was my cover job, and I never had to do a K-1 visa. But there's information that's provided in the interview that would show that they knew each other, they've met, and there was probably pictures and personal things. And so knowing what they provided in that personal interview, or she provided in that personal interview, would be interesting to know as well.
Because one of your colleagues, Jason Chaffetz, the congressman, chairman of the Oversight Committee, he says that they looked, there was really no evidence other than his word and her word that the two of them actually physically met before she got that fiancé visa. That would be a problem, wouldn't it?
It would be a problem, and again, part of that application form is to prevent marriage fraud and defrauding the U.S. government using the visa system to come to America. But we got to remember there was an in-person interview of her before she came over here, before she was granted K-1, and in that interview, the consular officer would have been getting directly to that. How many times did you meet, to make sure that they had indeed met before? But it gets back to the question of how do we determine, what questions could we ask, what things can we look at that shows a person's intention to do harm when they get to our shores? You served, as you acknowledge, a clandestine officer in the CIA in the Middle East. You served for about 9 years before becoming a United States Congressman. Does the U.S. have the ability right now, based on everything you know, to infiltrate ISIS at a high level in clandestine ways to get intelligence, track individuals who pose a threat? They can, they should be, and we need to be doing more. If I was the president, I would call up the director of the CIA and say, you have 45 days to double the amount of human intelligence that's coming out of Syria. Going after the plans and intentions of ISIS and the leadership of ISIS is a key collection gap that we need to be collecting more information on. And this is how we're going to stop people from coming over here, because we learn about what they're doing there. We learn about how they're trying to radicalize people using the internet, finding those folks that are on the other end of those messages that are being exchanged is how we're going to stop these folks over there before they get to our shores.
Congressman, we have more to discuss, including a major breach at one of the busiest airports here in the United States on the eve of a very busy travel season. Stay with us. We'll continue our conversation. With Congressman Will Hurd. You have any information? Have you been briefed on this? Because it's pretty disturbing.
I haven't been briefed by TSA yet on this, but we got to remember that when it comes to perimeter security of airports, that's the responsibility of the Port Authorities or the airport, and there's different standards across the country. So this is an issue that the Port Authority is dealing with, and there's issues about the response time, almost 10 minutes to take to respond to this. I hope that Lufthansa employee is going to get a holiday bonus, because it seems like he was the only one that saw something and said something. And so, these are all important questions. And JFK is one of the most used airports in the country, and this is important to get right.
I know you served in New York, too, when you were working at the CIA. But don't you think, it sort of makes sense to me that even if there's not a clear shot of the individual's face, they might want to release some of this video. Maybe someone would recognize what the individual is wearing, the body shape, and give the police a little tip who this person could be.
No, I would agree with you, Wolf, and I'm sure NYPD is involved. NYPD is one of the most professional and efficient of our police agencies in the country. So I'm sure they'll be doing that at the right time. And the question is, what was this guy doing? Was it just a crazy person that jumped a fence? Was he casing the place, as Congressman Meeks alluded to? Was this part of, is this part of the attack planning process where they're trying to do surveillance and test people's response? This is very important to find this individual and try to figure out why he was doing it.
I know you've spent a lot of time on the committee, the Homeland Security Committee, working on the issue. What else should the U.S. be doing to track potential ISIS terrorists who are trying to enter the United States? Are there any immediate steps that can be done?
Well, I think the first step, and we took this last week with getting the changes to the visa waiver program approved. This is a program where 39 European countries can participate. Someone can fill out some forms online and come to the United States for up to 90 days. There were some problems with how our European partners were using this and the information they were sharing with us. They weren't sharing immediately with suspected terrorists, so we should be going back to all of our European partners and asking them for the widest list possible of folks that they suspect of being linked to terrorists and put that in our databases so that we can do a search of folks that have maybe traveled here over the last 90 to 120 days.
Congressman Will Hurd of Texas. Thanks, Congressman, very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We'll see you back here next year. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Wolf. Merry Christmas to you, too.